Hello, and thank you for tuning in. This is Joanne Francis, and on behalf of the entire Divine Universe, I welcome you to today's Organic Divinity. It's inspired from a quick exchange on social media, and it was coming from someone, a friend, sharing a page, and the title of the page. And for today's segment, I'm going to break my rule of trying to not use any negative terms and words. But for today's segment, it's important to do so because we need to understand how we are subliminally or without intention, obviously, because we are all wonderful people, that it's the way we are labeling ourselves and other people that makes this world a little worse than it is and needs to be, if that makes any sense. And so, with your permission, I'm going to use some of these negative terms so that I can drive the point home. And today, the page that was shared, the person used what I call the backhanded compliment, and they positively called it the duality, or the positive or the negative, and they were using the positive and negative of all the words in order to drive that point home. But it was the title of the page that was bothersome to me, and it resonated with me, which is the point of why I said thank you for inspiring me to my friend. I didn't make my point clear when I responded, which is absolutely indeed my biggest challenge when I am talking back and forth with people, unless I am spending hours to rough draft, edit, and so on and so on. And therefore, I prefer, as I am now, speaking, because I know that my point will be taken in the correct tone and manner as for which it is intended. And although the title of this page was obviously, the intention is beautiful, it carries a negative connotation, which is a big problem in our society right now. And they absent-minded. And instead of all the other wonderful positive terms, they've decided to use this duality of the positive and the negative, and they are referring to themselves as absent-minded. But the problem is that when they use the term absent-minded and they're sharing their stuff, you are sharing with everybody that, hey, if you really like this page, you are absent-minded too. I am not absent-minded, and nor are many, many people that may fall into the category of being able to see both sides of every story, to know that they are ruled by their personal power system, and that depending on the situation, that they will be responding and reacting in certain ways. That is not absent-minded. And it's through these negative ways of labeling ourselves, which is how I phrased it on my reply, is that why must we use these labels in such a negative connotation? And I'll give you another example that I actually shared with somebody last year. When they were sharing something with me, they kept using referring to themselves as being stubborn. But you know me, I'm so stubborn. You know me, I'm so stubborn. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not stubborn. She was defending the reason for the choices that she made, and she called it stubborn. And I said, you are not being stubborn. Stubborn is when you are acting like a child. You don't know how to control your personal power system, and you refuse to co-create anything from any event in any shape, form, or matter. That is stubborn, like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a teenager. But when you are standing on your ground for what you know as to be correct, you are resolute thinking. You are not being stubborn. You are resolute with what it is that is running through your personal power system, the information driving you. If you have, and when you have control over your personal power system, this emotional guidance system, then you are moving from being just a stubborn person into a resolute person who has no problem standing on their ground for what they know is to be the truth. What a much better, more positive way of thinking of oneself. And that is why and how this whole prospect of how society has used labels in so many ways that they are deterring and throwing and what's that word? They are negating they are negating the positive energy that is available to everybody, because they use these negative ways of not just naming a page, but in the way that they think. And I'm going to now share with you the big daddy, if you will, the huge, huge asteroid of the divine universe that society is doing, that has done, that makes me ill. And again, I don't want to go there, but I will, because you have to understand that this is just how deep and nefarious that this kind of thinking is. And it is the term that, and label, if you will, or name of a mental disorder called Asperger's. And the thought that makes me crazy, a number of emotions, if you will, is that as many things are in this world, things are labeled or named after the person who has discovered it, etc., 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 however the means may be. And in this particular case, the doctor that came up with this term of this particular form of mental ability, see, there you go. I was going to call it a disorder, but it's not. If a disorder is a negative word. So that doctor, evidently, his name is Asperger. And so this is called the Asperger's syndrome or Asperger's disease or whatever they decide. The society just has no idea how awful it can be for any person diagnosed with such a disorder. When you yourself, you are quite old enough, if you are listening to this, you are old enough, you've lived through your early adolescent in through high school, college, etc. You remember how cruel kids can be. And when you think about now the kids, because now we're able to diagnose these things so much earlier in one's life because we have been made aware of it. How do you correlate calling it Asperger's when the first consonant is representative of a three-letter word that is overused and abused in society? Is a bad word, it's a swear word, and it's one of the most biggest used words when you want to deride or derail somebody and speak poorly or use bad language. It makes no sense to me. It is incongruent to me that the society and the very community that is there to help people with mental disease and disorders feel that it is acceptable to call people or label people or diagnose somebody and call it Asperger's disease. Could you have not come up with another term? Why was it so important? Listen to me. You know I get excited when that voice goes up like I'm the adolescent. Why is it so important to that individual or to that they thought it was okay? Their ego, obviously, is okay and well enough that they're okay. But now in today's society, or 15, 20 years ago when it started to be diagnosed, it just blows my mind. And that is the point of this whole segment, is that we have to be very careful with the words that we use, because the negative connotations that come along with it may not disturb you, but please realize that there are many people beside you, beyond your own nose, if you will, beyond the own reach of your own arm across the world, wherever, that take that in such a bad way. So you can choose to continue to spread negative vibes to other people by using negative words such as absent-minded, or you are stubborn, or you suffer from Asperger's disease, or worse, you just using that term because you're just an ass yourself, you see? Do you see how easy it is to fall into that stream of thinking? We have to change the way we use our words. When I was growing up, the phrase was, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And that is now no longer the truth. The social media aspect alone, the internet, the email, all the aspects of communication via that, those words written or spoken, like the words I'm speaking now, will burn forever now. There is no getting away from it. Somebody said something about one of the big social media platforms that they know that they now have a memory bank, permanent memory bank. There is no erasing. And so as you go through your day, think about the way you think about things and whether they are using positive words or negative words. Now, I'll think through the day, and perhaps instead of what word they could use, instead of calling themselves minded, because it's negative. That alone makes that person, understanding the person writing that and utilizing those words to describe their page, to title their page, is indicative of just how susceptible they themselves can be to using the positive and the negative. So you choose the words that you use wisely. Especially stop from using words to label and other people. And as I say that, I know that I can hear people already, before this is even posted or published, I can hear people say, well, you're not allowing them. And that is not what's happening here with this segment. Most definitely, I am allowing them to be and call and title in whatever they feel, because that's the beauty of this divine universe. And you are choosing to get caught up in and turning it around on me as the author of the very words I am speaking. That is the beautiful contrast that I hope some people get from listening to this particular segment that I'm recording. Yes, I am allowing them. What I am saying now is that we have to rethink and reformat the way that we use our words, because it's that particular simple. And now as I say that, another great example came forward, and it was how a newspaper journalist titled their article about some local children who got up to the state championship and they lost at that point. But the way they titled it, the title of the article, was very negative, and it just was so sad, because I knew the kids were going to make fun of these kids at the school. It was like, oh yeah, they almost made it. No, they didn't almost made it. They made it to the state champion. It blew my mind, the negativity that title held, when it completely demolished the very fact that those kids got from their local county level school system, Board of Ed, and won all of the titles necessary to get up to the state level. It's a medium-sized state. It's not a big state, but it's not a small state either. So that's a massive accomplishment, no matter how big or small the state is. But that title sure as heck did not congratulate those kids in any way, shape, or form as to the successes that they had to get them to that point. Again, we are using negative connotations to grab people's attention. And that is the organic divinity for this author, right here, right now, today. Because that's what's being used. The person that titled that page, that really caught my attention, it resonated. My physical being said, stop, that is not acceptable. And for humanity, do you understand? Not for me, the author, but for humanity. And we, as a society, are using all negative aspects that we can in order to grab someone's attention for whatever those means and purposes are. And that's what we have to turn around. Because the more negative energy that we are spreading out through social media that evidently is demanding it now, my God, think of some of these social media things and what they make people do in order for them to get their 3 minutes of fame. Is it even 3 minutes anymore? It used to be 15 minutes growing up for me. What is it now? 15 seconds, I guess. Yes, 15 seconds. That's probably how long some of the social media reels allow you to post, right? So, to recap this, I appreciate you hanging out with me and allowing this organic divinity to take place, because we have to undo what we have been doing for far too long, and that is to rethink every word we use when we are communicating with people, and so that we are spreading peace, love, and joy as we co-create whatever is to happen between the two of you or between you and the world. And wouldn't that be a great way to live your day? That you just automatically think of all the positive ways of things that are going on? It doesn't negate what's happening. It isn't you shoving it under the rug. Joanne Francis, right here, right now, is the last person walking this earth that will ever tell you to sweep anything or to ignore anything. The whole point and mission of Organic Divinity is for you to learn how to reframe yourself and see, and the perspective, change your perspective on how we have been trained and formatted to see the world we live in. Because as we reformat our way of thinking into this positive way, we start attracting all of the wonderful positive things that are around us. And that is what we're after. We used to call it balance. We're now calling it energetic peace. How about that for today? It's not about just balance. It's about reconfiguring the energy that is coursing through you so that you feel a sense of balance. That is where I want you to spend the day thinking. What is balance to you? And when you think about the words you are using, start changing them then and see what happens. The organic divinity that comes from this way of thinking, that is open to all the beauty that is around you, is not absent-minded. That is the wrong way to think of it. It is a beautiful, open-minded way of thinking and living your day. You have the choice and you have the power. You have the power within you to change your way of thinking simply by changing the words that you use. You have that power. So get to it and have a great day along the way. Thank you.